crescent moons, one facing upward and the other down, bound by a bar. The bar holds this idea of receptivity, both spiritually and intellectually, and then reflected back out in all directions in the form of wisdom. This planet brings enlightenment and an illumination of ideas in a way that's positive and grounded and can be used in our everyday lives. When we turn the symbol 90 degrees, you get the symbol of Pisces, and there are similarities. Poseidon was, as was Neptune, god of the sea. Poseidon was also god of earthquakes and horses. He is often depicted with a horse and sometimes a dolphin or a ram. He drove his chariot over water and through waves of unquestionable dominance, often drowning people in his wake. And in their death, their souls remain suspended over the ocean. Poseidon stands for enlightenment and wisdom. As he rode over his victims, he illuminated a clear passage to their death. So they suspended over the ocean, but within truth and light. So Poseidon is transparency. It's higher consciousness, clarity, truth, and ethics. It's all about illumination, so you can find it in the charts of anyone from inventors to visionaries, spiritualists, to people who are really good in the advertising business. Let's take a look at Poseidon at work in a few charts. Now, all planets can run the spectrum from positive to negative in their expression. Here, in Chelsea Clinton's chart, we find a powerful Poseidon energy, the planet of inner wisdom, inspiration, and illumination of ideals. But it's a hindered Poseidon energy. Highly individualistic and sensitive, Chelsea has a deep need for emotional self-expression, but her chart indicates she finds it hard to achieve in practice, spending considerable time chasing experiences which turn out to be less than expected. Around her meridian, and remember the meridian is like a snapshot of the soul's essence, the point of individuality. It's what you really want regardless of whether it brings attention and recognition from the outside. We have this major structure here involving Neptune, Poseidon, Admetos, and the Sun that complete this 4-point picture around her meridian. So when the Poseidon and Neptune come together, we get someone who has a deep clarity, knowledge, and wisdom of themselves, someone who is introspective and has a lot of insight. But if not operating that well in a chart, and there are indications in Chelsea's chart that confirm this finding, our knowledge of ourselves is foggy and unclear. We can have false ideas and views of ourselves that keep us on the wrong path and in a mirage. Clear insight into ourselves is not accessible for some reason and continuing to slip through our fingers. The Admetos joins the Poseidon here, and the Admetos deepens, stabilizes, and solidifies energy, or it can block energy, creating suppression. So with the Admetos Poseidon, we get a person with a lot of mental depth, someone who'd like to take her ideas, her ideals, and shine the light on them in a profound and grounded way. Admetos Poseidon is also the midpoint structure for education, but the Admetos can also be blocking the energy of the Poseidon, the expression of her ideals and what she'd like to radiate, and this is what appears to be happening. The Sun with the Admetos here is saying Chelsea has strong needs to feel deeply involved in her work, but that there are feelings of restrictiveness, that she's really not getting her needs met in this area. And then rounding out this major structure, we have a Sun-Neptune midpoint, someone who is highly sensitive to energy and can use these sensitivities for the greater good, creatively, spiritually, or in some kind of helping profession. But if not operating well, we can have a negative outlook, and there can be a loss of ego strength and confusion, or even depression at times around the career. Chelsea is also a fiercely independent and individualistic spirit, as seen by the planet of personal freedom and individuality, Uranus, in close aspect to her meridian. But her chart is telling us that there's a lot of confusion and uncertainty when she strives for her personal goals, that there's some ambivalence when it comes to dealing with the public. She can give the sense at times like she's driving, but with the brakes on. But where does this conflict come from? When we go to the moon, and the moon is our emotional needs, our emotional unconscious, what we need for our peace and well-being, it's also the mother. The Saturn here, the planet of security, stability, reliability, and also the planet of limitation, is saying Chelsea had a strong attachment to her mother, but that there was a lot of restrictiveness. And let's look even further and go to the moon ascendant midpoint structure, the midpoint structure that most specifically describes the mother, as well as Chelsea's experience of her. And here we confirm our findings even further. Venus, Pluto, and the Mars, Jupiter. This was a passionate mother with strong impulses who really loved her daughter. But with those power planets of Mars and Pluto, she was pushy and contentious. So here's where some of the conflict lies, because Chelsea did see her mother as a source of inspiration, but she also feared her wrath. She would have needed a more delicate encouragement and a heartfelt interest in order to gain the confidence to develop her own inspired visions. Instead, she received her mother's competitive energy. So there's really a lot there with Chelsea. She's an individualistic spirit with strong ambitions and inspired visions. But troublesome emotions arise when Chelsea aims to bring more of Chelsea into the arena, hiding away her deeper drive she feels would provoke opposition. And this is a very old pattern that can be traced to her early environment. But these deeper drives are positive and healthy impulses that are necessary to her passionate visions. And she probably experiences this as a stealthy tension, never finding herself satisfied and yet unable to say just exactly what the dissatisfaction is. So this is where the mirage in her life resides. Neptune Poseidon, her need for inner clarity, for intimacy with herself, but struggling with the reflected image. But if Chelsea can work to transform the uncertainty and fear around bringing more of Chelsea to the fray, that same Neptune Poseidon can set the sail to her visionary ideas and ideals. If you enjoyed learning about Poseidon and want to find out where it's located in your own natal birth chart, just go to my website, theiranianastrologer.com, and select the tab, The Trans-Neptunians, where you'll find directions on how to obtain a free Western style or traditional chart with all the Trans-Neptunians in it. And to take a video tour of the 7 other Trans-Neptunians, you can visit me at YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Twitter, or visit my website, theiranianastrologer.com.